This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Welcome back. It is hour number 2 of Money Moves here on VSiN, the sports betting network. Femi Abebefe alongside Jonathan Von Tobel. We're hanging out at the Circa Resort and Casino in downtown Las Vegas. As always, if you want to watch us, you can watch us on the VSiN Watch app or on vsin.com/watch. You can listen 24/7. We're in your ear live on Sirius XM channel 158. 1 hour down, 1 to go as we are watching a little Major League Baseball. Obviously, very excited for what is to come this weekend with the Final Four, as we will be joined shortly by Tom Tolbert, former Arizona Wildcat, NBA player, host of the Tom Tolbert Show. Talk a little Arizona as they got their coach. Tommy Lloyd has signed the 5-year extension, so they don't have to worry about Tommy Lloyd bolting to Chapel Hill. That'll be Iowa's concern, maybe the Chicago Bulls' concern, or some other dark horse candidate that might take that job over there for UNC.
Yeah, look, Arizona's a good job, and I don't think it's shocking. I think in North Carolina, a lot of people who don't understand the landscape outside of their tiny little bubble would be shocked by what's going on, but I mean, look, the money's everywhere in college basketball at this point right now, so that's one. And while he allegedly turned down a little bit more money to remain where he's at, he is in a place in which he's appreciated. He is doing a good job. Like there's a lot more at stake when you look at money versus situation. And I think that goes for all the other guys that are in contention for this job potentially now that Tommy Lloyd is stuck around. But why would Lloyd want to go anywhere? And he's in a pretty good place. It's supported. He's making money that's on par with what he's going to get out there in North Carolina. I think it's a move that makes sense that Lloyd would stick around out there.
It's very difficult to, while North Carolina being a great job, you need to win pretty quickly because whoever's going to take that job now, at this point at least, barring some sort of surprise, they're not going to have a tie to Dean Smith. And that means a lot in that region out there in North Carolina. Obviously, Roy Williams going back after being a Dean Smith assistant, that meant a lot. He was a North Carolina alum. It's very easy for them to say, okay, Roy is back. Let's get this train rolling. Hubert Davis was the guy that Roy Williams picked and said, hey, this is the guy that should be my successor. And that didn't work out. So even if it's a Ben McCollum or if it's a Billy Donovan going back to college basketball after being in the NBA for quite some time, or even if it's, let's just throw it out there. I'm sure that people, North Carolina fans, are discussing it, like Dusty May or Dan Hurley, one of those guys. They're not Carolina guys. And people could I roll that. I roll it as well because I'm like, don't you just want a good coach to win games? But that stuff matters to that. And if you're not one of those Carolina guys, the leash is a little bit shorter in terms of getting some of that success as opposed to if you were already grandfathered into the program.
Yeah, so I think it makes sense. He's a good coach. Arizona's in a good spot here, obviously keeping him around. And I think, too, he would be – I would say he can have success out there in North Carolina, too. I think that Lloyd's a good enough coach. I think our perception of these guys – and their successes and or failures is so, I think, skewed, especially in the betting circle. I mentioned this when I was talking about this the other day. So when we were talking about the Elite Eight and where we were with those teams, I think if you were to just kind of lick your finger, test the wind, and ask people, what do you think about Rick Barnes? And they'd be like, he's terrible. Okay, well, he's in his 3rd consecutive Elite Eight. So we have these weird thoughts about these guys. Tommy Lloyd's done a pretty good job there, and I think he's going to continue to do so. And he would do it, I think, anywhere.
Or even Matt Painter. You look at Purdue, it's Matt, because I even saw, I think it might have been one of the domestic sports books, and I'm not going to name names or whatever because I know a lot of them now look to rage bait for engagement because that's kind of how things roll these days. But they were like, oh, Matt Painter loses again, chokes again. I'm like, first of all, was he supposed to beat Arizona? First of all, and also too, literally just 2 years ago, we saw him go all the way to the national title game, and if not for that insanely good UConn team, they probably win it. That Zach Edey team that had the young backcourt of Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer, who were then now seniors this year, losing to Arizona. So I've had the jokes about Matt Painter, and I've had the moments hey, I don't know if you could trust this guy because Florida Gulf, not Florida Gulf Coast, but Fairleigh Dickinson or whatever. All of those things have happened in his past, but it's just kind of a tough sport. But Justin, we have Tom Tolbert. All right, we're good to go. We have been looking forward to this very, very much here on Money Money Moves on this Friday, because joining us right now on the Progressive Guest Line, former NBA player, but most importantly on this weekend, former Arizona Wildcat, member of the 1988 Arizona Final Four team. It is Tom Tolbert joining us here on Money Moves, host of the Tom Tolbert Show on Twitter at Byron Jr. 23. Tom, thanks for hanging out with us on this Friday. We're saying good luck to all of your Wildcats. Before we get to the weekend, I got to ask you about Tommy Lloyd. We were just having the conversation about it moments ago, signing the extension, 5 years to stay there in Tucson. What do you make of the job Tommy Lloyd has done in his short time there as the head coach of the Arizona Wildcats?
He's done a great job. He really has. Like, watching his teams play, they're easy to embrace. They really are. You can get your arms around those type of teams. The way he coaches them, the way he lets them play basketball. Like, he's not one of those guys that's a yeller and a screamer and a guy that's always on his feet, like coaching and then directing people like an orchestra, a guy in front of the orchestra. Who's that guy? The conductor. And not that guy. He lets them play. So the fact that he lets them play, I personally love. The team itself this year is just fun to watch play smash mouth football. It's like it did 3 yards in a cloud of dust, Woody Hayes all over again. It's like they don't worry about the three. Analytics, schmanalytics, like we're just going to go ahead and do what we do. It's not that they can't shoot the three. They just don't shoot the three. They say, you know what? We're bigger than you. We're more physical than you. We're stronger than you. Let's just go ahead and smash you guys in the paint. And it's worked out really well. I don't know if that style is going to work out against Michigan because they're as big as they are, but I couldn't be happier with the job Tommy Lloyd has done. I'm thrilled that he signed the extension. It was almost a no-brainer, like you had to. Arizona is one of the few schools in the country where basketball is bigger than football. So you have to take care of your basketball coach, especially doing the job that he's doing. I get the feeling, like I played under Lute, and that town was all about basketball. They love their Wildcats. They love their basketball team. And I get the feeling Tucson's very similar to that now than it was when we were playing.
What do you see in Lloyd as a guy in terms of player development? Because you got three freshmen here that have been playing for them very, very big roles and a big reason why they're out there, and they have come on strong as the season has gone along.
Yeah, I think with a coach, player development, it's, okay, what do you do well? Let's accentuate those. Even Tommy said that about a week ago. Like, I'm going to double down on what I do well. And getting guys to accept their roles on a team, I think that's the biggest job of a coach. I think there's a misnomer out there that people think coaches are all X's and O's. If you coach at this level, you know your X's and O's. I mean, you're not fooling your way into a job like this, into a Final Four. But you better get guys to believe what they do is important to the team's success. Like, what they contribute to the team is important, whether that be playing defense, rebounding, just running the court and setting screens. Maybe you are the scorer. But those are the best coaches that get everyone to buy in and get everyone to feel like, hey, you know what? I am important to the success of this squad. And I think he does that. And again, I don't think it's any small thing that he gives them freedom on the offensive end. He lets them go offensively. There was a story that came out after the Purdue game that during halftime he went in there and told those guys to figure it out. I love coaches that do those sort of things. But back to the offense, he says, you rebound, you play defense, I'm going to give you some freedom on offense. Everything about him, I love, and I couldn't be happier that he's staying with Arizona.
This is Money Moves. Femi Abebefe, Jonathan Von Tobel hanging out with Tom Tolbert, former NBA player, Arizona Wildcat, member of the 1988 Arizona Final Four team. Host of the Tom Tolbert Show on Twitter at Byron Jr. 23. We can hear it in your voice how proud you are of this Arizona team, how proud you are of the job that Tommy Lloyd has done. Well, let's talk about tomorrow night. You mentioned it. You said that this kind of ground and pound basketball that they've been playing has worked up to this point. Now on the other side, here's this Michigan team that's also very big, also gets up and down the floor. How do you see this matchup playing out tomorrow night?
This is the one game that I thought during the tournament, if they matched up against Michigan, I won't say I'd be nervous, but I was like, this one's going to be a battle royale. Like, it's just going to be an epic clash. Now, that being said, somebody will probably win by 20. But they're so similar to one another, right? Arizona probably has better guards. Michigan can shoot the three and shoots more threes than Arizona. That's the one thing that worries me. If the inside game's a stalemate and then they hit like 12 to 13 threes, that's going to be tough to keep up with. I think Arizona's a little bit better defensively than Michigan from what I've seen, but man, you get Krivas and Mara going at each other, and I guess it'll be Pete and Lindeberg going at each other, and Johnson and Walk. I mean, it's just there's going to be a lot of beef in the paint tomorrow night, and there's going to be guys fighting and trying to establish position. The one thing I would say, I just kind of thought of it, with that kind of physicality, who gets in foul trouble could play a part in tomorrow night's game. Like if physicality comes into play and one big guy gets 2 or 3 fouls early on in the game, that could be something to look forward to. But yeah, I think it's going to be a hell of a game. I think it's an absolute coin flip game. Like I love the Cats, and I think they've had a hell of a year. This one, like if they would have lost to Purdue or Arkansas, I would have been a little surprised at that. This one, I wouldn't be surprised. This one's just going to be, I think, going to be a hell of a basketball game. And it could be a break here, a bounce there, a call here that determines the game.
Yeah, I mean, as college basketball fans, this is the game that we've all been hoping that we were going to see when Selection Sunday, when the bracket was revealed. It's like, oh, they're on the same side. All right, let's get Michigan, Arizona in the Final Four. Real quick, let's say the Wildcats win. Who do you think they play Monday night in about 30 seconds because we're coming up against it? Who will they face Monday night if they beat Michigan tomorrow?
Well, I want to say Illinois because Illinois, again, they're big too. They got a lot of offensive weapons. They've had a great year offensively. But, man, how do you bet against UConn once they get to the Final Four? I mean, UConn just finds ways to win. So, man, I'll say Illinois, but I have no conviction in that whatsoever because, again, UConn just has this magic fairy dust going where they just find ways to win, and they're a hell of a ball club too.
Hey, we're all still buzzing after what we saw Sunday afternoon with the buzzer beater there, UConn defeating Duke. He is Tom Tolbert. Thanks for hanging out with us. Really do appreciate it. Former NBA player, Arizona Wildcat, member of the 1988 Arizona Final Four team, and host of the Tom Tolbert Show. Be well. Good luck to your Cats, and we hope to talk to you down the line.
Fellas, have a great weekend, man.
All right. We'll be back with more Money Moves when we come back.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools. But what they don't want you to know is that you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. VSiN Pro gives you access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Just tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Free picks backed by real analysis. That's Just Win Bets, baby. Mathematical models and AI-driven best bets across NFL, college hoops, NBA, NHL, UFC, soccer, and more. Plus a live weekend preview every Friday. That's today. Subscribe on YouTube, follow on X, and get their free daily best bets newsletter at justwinbetsbaby.com. This is Money Moves. Femi Abebefe, Jonathan Von Tobel, hanging with you guys on a Friday. Thank you to Tom Tolbert, who joined us in the last segment, getting his thoughts. A member of the 1988 Arizona Wildcat Final Four team, played for Lute Olson. Obviously, anyone who's associated with that program has to be very thrilled that Tommy Lloyd signed the extension. But I thought his analysis when he brought up the foul situation, how this game is going to be officiated, that's not something that we don't really talk a ton about before a game. But I think it's going to be super critical with these two teams being physical. How is this officiated? Because we saw when Michigan played Duke in that game in Washington, D.C., Ade Mara got into foul trouble, hurt them a little bit there on the interior. Does something like that happen tomorrow night between these two teams? Could be Mara, could be Krivas, who knows? But how this is officiated, I think, will be a big factor in who ultimately wins the game.
It's 100% going to be, and this is also a matchup in which you have a team that ranks 7th in the country in offensive free throw rate in Arizona, going against a defense that is 13th in defensive free throw rate. So Michigan defends without fouling. Arizona gets fouls and gets to the free throw line with their brute thickness, as Will Hill called it. So I think that, although I don't think he was talking about them, he's saying Illinois had the brute thickness, but I like the term either way. That is going to be a big one, whether or not this team game is going to be called in a fashion that would help either team. Are they going to let them get physical and not call as much, because that would lend in the favor of Michigan, or if they're going to start calling things and allowing other teams or these teams to get to the free throw line? Because Michigan, if you had another little, even if you're splitting hairs, they don't really get to the free throw line to the rate of some of the more dominant teams in this field. They're 100th in the country in offensive free throw rate. So that is going to be something that will loom large over this for sure.
Yeah, it's such a good matchup here. Like the guard play definitely leans Arizona. I just think, and like we've heaped a lot of praise on Tommy Lloyd. I think Dusty May's a better coach. And I think that's there's so many chess matches in this game. I can't wait to see how it plays out. I think I might be on the island here. We'll get to our best bets a little bit later on during the program as to who we think will win this game. And I think that's where I'm at.
To your point, it hasn't been overwhelming, but I have been surprised by the number of people I've heard say Arizona.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to be somewhat lone and sticking to my guns with the Wildcats, but I have not. So
we had Mike Palm on the show in the last hour. And he joined us, and he said that he thinks that Arizona is the best team in the country. I think Michigan is the best team in the country, but I think Arizona is more consistent.
Yeah.
So if Michigan plays their best game, they're going to win. They'll beat anyone in America if they play their best game. But as he was telling us as he was leaving, it's like Michigan gets a little bit loosey-goosey with the basketball. Hey, 15 turnovers. What do you know? We lost. Like that's the problem with Michigan. But if they can take care of the basketball, limit those turnovers, I really don't think there's anything Arizona can do. Like Michigan has been unbelievable in these non-conference games, in these unfamiliar environments. I think that carries over to tomorrow night, and I think they're going to win the game. But they have to play their game because if they're a little bit on the negative side in terms of the volatility, Arizona will be the team that's there standing left and will be playing on Monday night.
Yep. I think that's the way it's probably going to play out in that regard, at least.
Yeah. So we shall see. Hell of a game, though. Absolutely looking forward to it. We're discussing, though, during the break as we stay with the hoops, but now of the professional variety. NBA Today over on ESPN, they were discussing Luka Doncic, and this, I was not aware that this was a thing that could happen, but apparently Luka Doncic, who injured his hamstring last night, we're still waiting for the results of the MRI. But if Luka does not play another game this regular season, he will have missed the 65-game requirement to be eligible for end-of-season accolades like All-NBA. But apparently Luka Doncic could file a grievance because back in December, he missed a couple of games for the birth of a child. I'm not sure how this all plays out.
Not a child, his child.
Or his that is important.
It's an important distinction. You know?
Important distinction.
He didn't just take a couple of days off to go.
I just pulled up at the hospital.
Yeah.
Hey, he sent me to maternity.
Miracle of life is a beautiful thing. But no, it was his child.
For the birth of his child.
Not just anyone.
A very, very good correction there. But this grievance might allow him to actually be eligible, which we were talking about in the first hour, that there are betting markets for players to make first team. This would be a biggie. It
would be a biggie. And also what is interesting is the timing in which the ruling would come down, which would be after the regular season, obviously. So there's all sorts. Now, some of these first team NBA markets aren't up anymore, so there's not really anything you can act on at this point. But that will be one of those that is, because remember, as they roll these awards out post regular season, so you'll have to sit back and wait when the all NBA teams come out. But he could be. We still don't know the results of the MRI. That's what we're waiting for. I'm frequently Googling Luka Doncic to find out whether or not we're going to get an update on him anytime soon. But that would be a pretty big deal for him. And like you mentioned, in some of those preseason All-NBA markets, I would assume that a lot of people were fancying Luka Doncic as a guy who could make a first-team All-NBA. And that, I don't know, it's from like a liability standpoint that it really matters. But I do think that from the perspective of just, hey, I've got something on Luka to do this, I'd really like to see if he can get it done. And what voters do, too. I mean, how does that work in that regard? So,
like, will they know?
Yeah, like will the NBA... When you vote, again, it's not like a full thing. I believe it's like a drop. This is hardcore, but I believe it's like a drop-down menu of eligible players. Will he be considered eligible? Will you have an award in which, or will you have a ballot in which it says, hey, this is your Luka Doncic included ballot, this is your non-Luka ballot? The intricacies of how they're going to decide that as well is also really interesting, and it doesn't matter in this regard.
Why is it this complicated? It's just because correct me if I'm wrong. They send out the ballots, I believe, Sunday night, because the regular season ends on a Sunday afternoon. I believe the ballots are sent out Sunday night, and they're due I'm assuming before the play-in tournament. Yeah. So they're due probably by Tuesday, I'm guessing, because the play-in tournament begins on Wednesday. I believe it's Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday for that final 8-seed game, whatever. Then we play the playoffs on Saturday. So this is a quick turnaround here for the league. They're going to have to decide this thing essentially now, and then see if Luka ends up missing the games. And it's like, okay, well, here's what we decided, or vice versa. So I don't know how this is all going to play out, but seems to be a little bit ridiculous. We did just get breaking news though out of the NBA, a Sham Wow, if you will. I don't know if people are still going with that, but Sham Charania, ESPN NBA insider, reporting that Golden State Warriors star Steph Curry, the chef himself, is expected to be cleared to return on Sunday against the Houston Rockets after missing over 2 months and in 27 consecutive games due to a persistent knee injury. I believe they called it runner's knee was what the classification was, but that is what sources tell Shams and Anthony Slater, who covers the Warriors for ESPN. So Steph Curry expected to be back this weekend. Steph has obviously missed a lot of time, but the Warriors are in the play-in tournament. Does add a little bit of an intrigue with the play-in because you drop in a guy, legendary player in Steph Curry, in a one-off. That's not a guy you want to see if you're the Portland Trailblazers or if you're one of these other teams, the Clippers or whatever in the play-in tournament. Like Warriors have a very, very low ceiling, but when you got Steph Curry in a one-game scenario, he could hit 12 threes, and all of a sudden you're sitting at home. And
sadly, a lot of play-in experience for the Golden State Warriors and Steph Curry, as we have seen him here regularly. But right now, it would be the Los Angeles Clippers as the standings fall, because the Clippers have lost 2 straight. Trailblazers have won 3 straight, including getting an outright win over those Clippers in a head-to-head a couple of nights ago.
Wow. Yeah, I think that's insane that the Blazers, what a story, that they've been able to rally the troops here somehow as the 8th seed currently in the Western Conference. But we were talking about Luka and the 65-game thing. Hardwood handicappers earlier today, Zach Cohen, he was talking about Defensive Player of the Year.
Yep.
Because Victor Wembanyama is like with the minus infinity favorite to win DPOY. Like he's going to win this award as long as he plays 65 games for like the next decade, presumably. Zach brought up a very interesting angle here. If Victor Wembanyama, who missed last night's game due to injury management, is not able to meet the 65-game requirement. Take a listen.
There's just so much hanging in the balance with Wemby and, that decision last night to sit him out. Like all of a sudden, you're looking at Defensive Player of the Year where Wemby is minus 8,000. That's the award that he's going to win. Like if he plays 65 games, he's winning that award. That is his, it's not going to anyone else. But if he does not play 65 games, all of a sudden you're going to see like Chet Holmgren just shoot up the board and become the betting favorite to win. So I don't know that I would take Chet at he's 13-1 at DraftKings. Not sure if you could find a better price elsewhere. I'll quickly check that right now, but it might be worth like a sprinkle on Holmgren just because there is not a lot of wiggle room with Wemby and that 65 games. You could get 20-1 on Chet to win Defensive Player of the Year elsewhere. That's essentially a bet on Wemby missing 2 of these final 5 games. But man, crazier things have happened. So I don't know. It might be worth taking it because like the odds tell you that, this is Wemby's award if he plays 65, but if he does not, it's going to Chet. So I don't know. It might be worth just, a small little something on 20-1, maybe free bets if you have them or bonus bets, whatever you have in your account. But I do think it's for sure worth keeping an eye on.
Is that how you see it? Is it Wemby, if he misses it, it's Chet, or could somebody else do it? Because not a whole lot of people talk about DPOY since it's just been Wemby.
It's I think Gobert should have a better shot at this if you look at the on-court, off-court numbers. But media members who have discussed this vote out in public have very much said that Chet Holmgren is the second choice for them behind Victor Wembanyama. So that I think there's really no question. If you don't have, I've got Chet at like plus 450. That was around the time when Victor was hurt. Mm-hmm. But I think that there's really no question that it would be Chet if he does not actually play the necessary games.
Yeah, I see some Chet 20-1 right now. I'm assuming Victor's going to play the games because this stuff means a lot to him. So he's going to make sure, whether the doctor's orders or not, that he will be out there to make the 65-game requirement. We'll go to the diamond next here on Money Moves.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Oh, the good times rolling along on a Friday here on Money Moves. Femi Abebefe, Jonathan Von Tobel, hanging out with you guys here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Coming up in the next segment, all of our best bets for the Final Four. But I want to let folks know before we get into all of that, baseball season is here, and VSiN Pro just made it a whole lot more profitable with MLB AI player prop projections powered by Opta AI. We're giving you data-driven projections for both hitters and pitchers compared directly to DraftKings lines, so you know exactly where the value is. And every day we break it all down into the top value plays and strong plays, so you don't have to do any of the heavy lifting. Now, you're not going to be sore with this. Get access now with a VSiN Pro subscription at VSiN.com/MLB props. We got some Major League Baseball going on right now. Padres and the Red Sox. I have not watched any of this game since it's on the top row of the TVs right now, but the Major League Baseball card is plentiful on this Friday.
Lucky for you, I have had my fantasy baseball league open this entire time, and I have been keeping track of mostly everything that's been going on.
Has the show come secondary in the fantasy baseball
Not
primary?
Secondary.
Or what are we saying here?
I will just say, look, I have been in this league now. This is the 4th year. There's a lot of cretins in this league that may or may not be watching. And I have finished, I think, last or second to last almost every single season. I'm tired of it. So I'm putting my work in. Dylan Cease today, not really doing any favors, having some control issues, getting some strikeouts, but still league leader in ERA right now, so it's fine. We can take a couple of hits here and there. I will tell you as we go around the scoreboard, a couple of things that stick out. First off, the Dodgers just will not stop bludgeoning the Washington Nationals today. How about this? Home runs for Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts. I think, let's see, we got Ohtani that went yard, Pages went yard, Tucker went yard, so I think that's 5 homers. That's all the fingers on my hand. Sheehan's done 8 okay job, 4 earned runs over 5 2/3. Doesn't matter when you get 12 runs of support. So the Dodgers absolutely obliterating Washington. Yankees, a little bit of a scary moment, but my guy's up here again. Judge took a fastball off the wrist. And so you're wondering, ooh, is he going to be okay? But he was fine. Hit a 2-run shot in his first at bat. Since then has scored. So we'll see. Struck out in his last time up. 4-2 right now, bottom of the 6th inning. And let's see. Boston, you mentioned it. San Diego, top of the 5th inning between these two. This has been a 2-1 game so far. Sonny Gray with an admirable appearance thus far against the Friars. 4 2/3 and just 1 earned run allowed for Sonny. So we have a lot of action, and I think that's everything. We should mention Detroit up 4-0. Again, the selfish tie. My guy, Riley Green today, 2 of 4, scored a run, drove in another. So Tigers up 4-0, and Framber Valdez, 6 innings, 3 hits, no earned runs, and 5 strikeouts. The start of the Valdez experiment in Detroit has gone very well. Was on the road against San Diego, pitched 6 innings in his first start. It was just 1-run ball, struck out 5 there. So the first 2 starts in a Tigers uniform for Framber Valdez, very good.
That's a dangerous team if they can get into the postseason.
Oh, hell yeah, brother.
A 1-2 Scooble Valdez.
Yep.
That's a.
If they do it in a wild card, God forbid it's a wild card set. Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah. Minus 250 Detroit Tigers. I don't care who they're playing. It's just that is one heck of a 1-2 punch there. Obviously, you need your lineup to carry you through the whole month of October, but in a 1-off like that, or I guess a 3-off, if you will, very scary.
Before you move on, I did have a statistic for you that I did want to read.
And I asked you about this during the break. You said save it for the air, so this must be a goodie.
I think it is at least. So if anybody's wondering, hey guys, it's Friday. It's a pretty big NBA card. Why haven't you really talked about the individual games? From David Purdom. Friday night's NBA slate is historic because of its perceived lopsidedness. 5 games have point spreads of 15 or higher tonight. That's never happened in the last 35 seasons.
Wow.
The average point spread on tonight's game, 12.2 points, the largest for a slate with at least 7 games in the last 35 seasons, according to ESPN research.
Adam Silver's NBA.
I mean, that's a little unfair. Again, as we talked about yesterday, she's very gorgeous to me. There's good things about the NBA at times. Yeah. Because I'll say this, okay? You love the NFL. Mm-hmm. I watched a lot of crap when I was sitting at this desk during Live Bet Sundays.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
It's slop.
So, yeah. So, this thought of, this is the only league in which there's blowouts. I'm watching the Dodgers cave the skulls in of the Washington Nationals today. So, let's pump the brakes on some of these things when the Dodgers are regularly, $3 favorites at the end of the year, $4 favorites, and some of these other teams as well because, you're seeing teams strip it down to the studs and whatnot. So, that's my lone defense I will throw out there. Every league has these moments. So, it's just,
I will say, this is, we've reached the NBA equivalent of what is week 18 of the NFL season. For those who don't remember, go back and look at week 18 this past NFL season.
Of course.
Absolutely horrendous what we saw. And there were people literally saying, do we need to get rid of week 18 and just go back to the 16-game schedule? So, yes, recency bias. We can't remember anything that happened 2 weeks ago. This happens in every sport. I will say this, though, to push back a little bit on what's been going on in the NBA. Based on the incentives, this is what you get. Sure. And the CBA that was agreed to, where it's difficult if you're in the middle to become great and you have to just tear it down to the studs. This is kind of what you get, which I hate. I want to reward teams that are actually like the Chicago Bulls, if you will.
Ethical tankers.
They were, they would have been 42 and 40 or 41 and 41 for the last decade, essentially. Where was their avenue to becoming a good or a great team? If there's no pathway for a team that's solid to become great, this is what you kind of get, which is unfortunate, but, Yeah, like if the incentives are to lose to try to get the DeBonsas, the Petersons, the A-Cups, unfortunately we got to sit through a couple of 15-point favorites railroading teams on a Friday night.
Hey, Jazz covered 17.5 the other day.
They did. But did you want to watch that game if you didn't have any money on it?
I did. Oh, I was going to say, yes.
Exactly. Like, hey, I have no money. Let's turn on what's happening in Utah. Hell no. You're not watching that game. But it happens. Hey, that's part of sports. The rest of the Major League Baseball card, because we do have some games that are about to get underway at 4 o'clock Eastern time. Reds, Rangers, got Brady Singer against Mackenzie Gore. 110, you got the Cubs and the Guardians.
You say it like that?
I had no idea. I tried to roll past it, but I appreciate you for acknowledging it. Cubs and the Guardians at 4:10 Eastern time. We have the Phillies and the Rockies, Orioles and the Pirates. Big game out there in the Steel City. Connor Griffin making his big league debut. A lot of folks excited for that. Any bets for you in the 4 o'clock Eastern slate?
No bets, but I did want to point out a couple. Texas and Cincinnati, if we could go there. This is going to be a pretty interesting one. You know, we've seen some spots. There was a lot of support for Texas really early. Opened up -156, got to as high as -175 at DraftKings. Kind of got bought back down, sort of like a -166 in favor of the Rangers. I've brought this up, I think, to you before since you've been here the last couple of days, but I'm very high on Texas, and I'm somewhat low on this Cincinnati team. They have not looked particularly great, and they don't look like a team that's going to be great. You know, you go back to a season ago in which they were a team that really didn't have any power in a ballpark that accentuated power, and they're just a group that I think is lacking. And now, of course, big picture, Green's not there, whatever it is. But Mackenzie Gore is a dude that you really like. And so against a team that doesn't have a lot of pop in the lineup, again, high on the Rangers, I think this is a spot where you can get it done. 5 1/3 in the first start for Mackenzie Gore. You can make the argument, given some of the contact numbers and whatnot, that he was due for a little bit of a better fate. And even then, it was 5 1/3 and 2 earned runs. Did walk 3, struck out 7. I think Gore's great. And so you look at what he did in his first start with a 277 fielding independent against a weak lineup. I think you could probably convince yourself that the Rangers, maybe first 5, you want to lay a half run there with Texas, might be worth looking at. I like this Rangers team a lot. So it's always going to generally be pro Texas, and especially in a matchup like this where it's a Reds team that I don't like either.
I'm going to push back on the Mackenzie Gore point. I'm actually not a fan. Like, I understand where he is, like, the stuff is really good. The underlying metrics are great with Mackenzie Gore. To me, he feels like he's like broke boy Dylan Cease. Like that's what Mackenzie Gore is to me. Like Cease is another one of those guys that's really good with the analytics and everything like that. Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, why can't you limit runs? I think Mackenzie Gore is one of those kinds of pitchers. I'm not fading Texas, but I do like fading Gore a little bit with a home run prop. I'm taking Matt McLain to go yard today for the Cincinnati Reds. I believe the number, it was 7-1 that I got. I'm going to get it right here. Yes, plus 700, Matt McLain to hit a home run in this afternoon's game. I get it. Gore can get you a lot of strikeouts. He can do that stuff. And when he's on, it looks as dominant as you will find in the big leagues. But there's too often, sometimes they find the barrels a little bit, which he has found early on in the season. He's found some barrels. You don't want that if you're a pitcher. Yeah. Give me Matt McLain, who's been a little bit unlucky in the early going here at plus 700. We're going big game hunting with a home run bet in the 4 o'clock window.
Yeah, and to your point about the analytics, like that, it depends on how much you want to buy in, what you buy in. Over the course of 30 starts and 159 2/3 innings last year, his ERA was 4.17, but FIP and XFIP were in the 370s. So
he's a FIP guy.
Yeah, exactly. Now, usually those do play out at times, so we'll see if maybe that does happen here. And he had a pretty decent start the last time, but maybe again tying into my own selfish needs. I'm a big Mackenzie Gore guy. We'll just say. So let's go.
What's your team name?
I've always thought that I don't know if I'm allowed to say it on the air. So I'll tell you off the air, and then I'll say if we can say it on the air.
All right.
I think we can, but I don't know. Stormy's a big fan of the team name, though. Very good.
We don't want you to get in trouble.
Yeah.
We don't want anyone
We've
to get
already
in trouble.
pushed it with Lola Bunny earlier today. We don't need to go.
The envelope only goes but so far.
That's right.
we don't want to do any
before
of
it
that
opens. Yeah.
Correct. Any other plays that you have later on tonight in Major League Baseball?
Let's see. So, there's a couple of interesting games. You mentioned really quickly coming up at like 1:12 our time. We'll talk about it on the other side. Baltimore-Pittsburgh looks like it's going to be a ton of fun.
Oh, yeah. I have a home run prop in that game as well, where we will see the big league debut of the #1 overall prospect in baseball, Connor Griffin, the shortstop for the Buccos. That's coming up, as well as our best bets for the weekend. Who do we like on Final Four Saturday? Find out next when we wrap up Money Moves here on VSiN.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
If you got a group chat full of hot takes, Cut was built for you. Cut is a social betting platform that lets you bet directly against your friends and other users on basically anything. Sports, politics, pop culture, and even personal bets. Every bet is fully customizable and pre-funded, which means no more chasing down someone when they lose. Believe me, we've all been there before. You want to go back to those middle school days? Just kidding. Maybe not. Now you can get a 15% deposit bonus on your first deposit when you use promo code VSiN. Head to cut.com, that's /KUTT.com, or download in the App Store and use promo code VSiN. Welcome back. This is the final segment of Money Moves on this Friday. Femi Abebefe, Jonathan Von Tobel. Show's gone by quickly, man. It's been a fun Friday for us here on Money Moves. We just did get this notification on Twitter from NFL Network's Ian Rappaport. Oh, by the way, the NFL draft less than 3 weeks away, if you will. Ohio State linebacker Arvell Reese has had top 30 visits with the Jets, Cardinals, Titans, Giants, Chiefs, and Cowboys, per Ian Rappaport and Mike Garafolo. Daniel Jeremiah has Reese as the number 2 pick by the New York Jets in his latest mock draft. It feels like that's where we're headed. Like, after Mendoza goes number 1 to the Raiders, Arvell Reese is the obvious best play. I mean, some people think he's just the best overall player, but of course, quarterback value kind of gets you pushed up to number 1. But Arvell Reese looking like he might be going number 2 overall and headed to Florham Park.
I don't want to do that thing where I get kind of caught up in just like the social media bubble in which what I'm watching is not real life. So I will preface what I'm saying with that, because I've seen a couple of those videos in the private workouts. He does look pretty stiff. What is he supposed to be? Because I would assume,
rusher?
Yeah, because you have these 3 edge rushers that are there, and if you're taking him before the other 2, I feel like you'd want a little bit more bendiness when it comes to the ability to get around the corner, rush the passer. Again, I am not by any means a scout, and I have only seen 90 seconds, 2 minutes, I should say.
I've
only seen 92 minutes, film. 90 seconds, 2 minutes of film. So I'm not going to run and say this guy stinks, but I do find it curious from what I have seen versus what the expectation is for him in the draft, and what the expectation is from the betting market and from analysts that would say that this is safely the number 2 pick. He's minus 250 over at DraftKings to be picked second overall. David Bailey plus 350. Sonny Styles 11-1. Ruben Bain Jr. and his little arms at 12-1.
Yeah, I'll take Ruben Bain on the Cowboys. If he wants to fall down to them, he seems like he's a monster. What did you say the Reese price was again?
Arvell Reese minus 250 to go number 2.
Minus 250. Okay, gotcha. I've heard people sometimes draft season get a little bit reckless, and admittedly, I've not followed this draft as much just because there's a lot of stuff going on. But I heard people were saying that Arvell Reese is like a bigger, longer, more explosive Micah Parsons is what I heard. That to me seems a little far-fetched, but people in the draft industry seem to like this guy a lot. And, a lot of folks in the draft industry talk to people in the league, and that's how this stuff sort of kind of bandies about to where Arvell Reese is now seen as like the consensus number 2 pick. But still a lot of time to go between now and the NFL draft. I know it's less than 3 weeks away, but in draft years, that's a lot of time. And you'll see the betting market start to pass. Just think back to every single draft where 3 weeks before the draft, we thought this guy was going to go here. Like this time last year, Tedero McMillan was going to be drafted after Matthew Golden.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's kind of what happens with the NFL draft. And of course, Tedero McMillan ended up being the first wide receiver taken.
Ty Simpson, a first round pick, I should say. Quarterback prop for the first round, 1.5 over minus 205.
I would be more inclined to bet the under.
Bet it every year. I'm going to do it again.
Quarterback desperation is real, but usually, if he goes in the first round, doesn't it have to be in the first 15 picks? Because if a team likes a guy that much, why you're not going to mess around and wait?
I never really buy the whole trading into the back end of the first round stuff. If you like a guy, I saw this.
Take him.
With that or. Because I saw there was a debate or there was a conversation about the draft and then trading back in, and somebody mentioned to an analyst, well, I'm sure the Saints wish that they had traded back into the first round to get Tyler Shuck, and the response is why? They'll just sign him to a contract after a year, 3 year, whatever. Yeah. They're going to be fine. So I don't think you need that extra year of control, and in fact, it's. For some cases, I'll take GVO for an example, Gainesville's very own. It puts you in a weird predicament where you need to decide what's going to happen and whether or not you're going to get that first, or whether or not you're going to exercise that
fifth year.
Option. So, in other words, what I'm saying is, I don't know if there's enough love for Ty Simpson, and I think that if you're a team that's maybe curious, you just sit back and wait and see if he falls to you in the second round.
Yeah, I mean, there's some, and for those who don't know, Gainesville's very own is Anthony Richardson. There are some people, like ESPN's Dan Orlovsky, he says that Ty Simpson's tape is better than Fernando Mendoza. So I guess we'll find out, you know, like he says he's talked to some general managers, some people agreed with him, and et cetera. So I'm more of the inclination that I think that, like, at the end of the day, he's not going to go in the first round because, like, I mean, just like we talked about with the awards in the first hour, people need content. You know, like you got to say stuff. And I'm not saying that people are being disingenuous, but, like, you know, hey, content is just saying that, oh, no, one quarterback, that's not sexy.
I also do think we have these teams that have multiple first-round picks, and those are maybe some that people are pointing to as to, hey, you could take Ty Simpson there. But why would you when next year's class is, by all accounts, now I will say, this time, last year, we thought this year's class was going to be very good, and
next
it's not.
Next year's class is always better.
But this does seem, with Arch Manning and other names that are coming out next year, that I can use this year as a gap year, if you will, just stock up on all my first-round picks of edge rushers, offensive linemen, whatever I need, and then we'll probably stink next year and come back again and have another crack at taking one of these really top-tier guys in a year from now. So we'll see, but I think that also weighs on whether or not you're going to take Ty Simpson.
Which is what the New York Jets have been doing.
Yep.
Like, they traded Quentin Williams, they traded Sauce Gardner. Like, they've been stockpiling first-round picks for next season, and looks like they're going to go ahead and take best player available. That's not a QB in Arvell Reese, and then we'll see what they do with that regime with general manager Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn, who I'm not so sure will be the head coach in 2027. You believe? Yeah, you might be the only one. I'm not even sure if Aaron Glenn.
I'm sure his family does too.
I don't know. I hope they're renting, to be quite honest. We got a few minutes left, though, in the program. Let's get to the best bets. Before we do that, though, if you're looking for an edge in baseball betting, check out the VSiN Daily Diamond. Sharp daily baseball betting insight all season long. Former MLB pitcher Jensen Lewis and Dave Ross break it all down. Lines, totals, props, futures. Subscribe to the VSiN Daily Diamond wherever you get your podcasts. And while you're there, search VSiN for our full podcast lineup. Everything from the NBA and college sports to horse racing and more. VSiN, the sports betting network. What's on your card for the rest of the MLB slate? And also, we made it, man. We can talk a little Final Four.
Yeah, just one best bet to add to the coffer here. No real big thing in Major League Baseball. I like to take it a little slow at the beginning of the season, but we've talked about this all week. I mentioned this with Gil Alexander earlier today on a numbers game. Illinois on the money line, minus 125 will be the bet. I would say, too, you can sit back and wait. Like, I think this is probably going to get cheaper by the time we get to the tip time tomorrow, but I think Illinois is the side. I think it's a cheap number. A lot of projections would say it's somewhat cheap as well. I will go with it, and let's go Illinois minus 125.
There we go. One bet for me in Major League Baseball for a game that's about to get underway in the 4 o'clock hour. Gunnar Henderson, plus 425 to hit a home run for the Baltimore Orioles. I just like Gunnar. Like, he's been hitting a lot of barrels, just been a little bit unlucky so far this season. And you look at the pitching matchup there with Mitch Keller on the mound. I'm always skeptical of Mitch Keller. He's been giving up a high barrel percentage. So let's go with Gunnar Henderson, who was an MVP candidate a couple years ago. Might be an MVP candidate this year. Perhaps top two and maybe not two. Might need some injury luck for that one. Yeah. But Gunnar Henderson, plus 425 to hit a home run. As for me in the Final Four, I have not yet placed a bet, but I for sure will have a Michigan bet to win on Saturday. Like money line. I haven't decided money line or lay in the 1.5, but I will have something on Michigan. I think we get UConn. I think UConn ends up beating Illinois. There's just something about Hurley in these tournaments. I could just see them doing it one more time, and then everyone's like, oh, got to bet UConn again, and then Michigan ultimately beats them. I've been saying it for a lot of the college basketball season. Michigan's the best team in the country. I think that they play at their top-tier level because they have an awesome head coach in Dusty May, and if they play at their top-tier level, they will beat Arizona, and they will beat whoever wins the other semifinal. I think it's going to be UConn, but even if it's Illinois, Michigan will win that game as well, as the Big Ten will finally end the drought of since 2000 not having won a national championship, which seems insane to say out loud, but January, February, Izzo's the only guy that's been carrying the torch for the Big Ten.
Glad this is the last show then, because we have been quietly at odds in almost everything here so far.
Hey, you know what? Differing opinions makes for good radio, right?
That's very true. We can argue about it.
No groupthink here on Money Moves.
Unless it comes to other topics, like Space Jam.
Yes. Then there's a groupthink. There's a consensus opinion when it comes to Space Jam, unlike our buddy Will Hill. You get a home run?
We got a home run here in Major League Baseball.
Who just knocked this out the park?
Let's see what we got. But the Boston Red Sox knotted up at actually, we just took the lead here.
Yeah.
Let's see, at 3-2. So, Contreras. That is not, okay, I thought it was the second one. No, that is his first one of the day. So, Contreras goes yard, 423 feet to center, 3-2. Boston up on top.
There we go.
For their second win of the season.
I bet a couple of Red Sox forgot to give them out at the start of the show, so I did not talk about them at any point. But I need Trevor Story or Marcelo Mayer, I should say, to hit a home run. They have not done that.
Mitch and Paul, who hit reply all to emails in the company, they are coming up next on Follow the Money.
We love you guys.
Just hit reply, bud.
Stick around. Follow the money at the top of the hour here on VSiN. See you later.